Hello, my name's Brian Mathers, and if you're watching this, you probably have some sort of interest in visual thinkery. And I suppose been thinking about trying to unpack this visual thinkery journey that I've been on for a little while now. And this is one of the methods I thought I would experiment with, the idea of drawing as you're talking. Which I find myself doing in meetings in order to capture some of the conversation. But it's a pretty tricky, pretty intensive thing to do. Anyway, I'm going to try it. Yeah, I don't do two things at the same time well at the best of times. So here's who knows what might happen. But bottom line is, yeah, I used to be, in fact, I'm not going to use that tool. I'm going to use this marker tool. I used to be a fresh-faced software engineer, would you believe it or not? And if you'd asked me, Brian, can you draw? I'd have said, no, I can't, not really a drawer, if that is indeed good English. Back in those days, you sort of, as a software engineer, you had to wear a shirt. So I always had to wear a shirt. There we are. And here's me here, right? It looks as if I was a bit fatter then. I probably was, to be honest. Anyway, well, there's Brian, the software engineer. And so let's just write that underneath. So software engineer. And over the last few years, I've sort of gone on this crazy journey, really. And which has ended up with me describing myself. If you were to, oh, that's a bit of a smaller head, is it the same sort of size of head? Let's draw that. If you were to ask me, if you were to meet me at a conference or something and say, hey, Brian, what do you do? I'd probably say, hey, I'm a visual thinker. And no one makes me wear a shirt these days, which is a relief. And so here's me. I'm probably a bit happier, actually. Because I tend to work most from the shed, and but I've got these sort of worry lines. That's probably because I've got children more than anything else, to be honest. But anyway, here's me, and so yeah, I'm now a visual thinker, and it's been a pretty crazy journey to get from sort of Brian, the software engineer, to Brian, the visual thinker. And it was very much an accidental journey because I suppose I got a little bit frustrated working for a particular company and getting my sort of opinions across using words weren't cutting it. And therefore I started trying to get my points across by trying to use pictures. And that's where a lot of this was born, because whenever and I was essentially using this app, which is an app called Paper by 53, but I essentially tried to sort of draw stuff on the iPad, and then I ended up bringing that into Keynote. And I sort of find myself, sort of talking or being able to talk through something quite quickly, especially if you caught the right person and got 5 minutes with them, you could sort of flick through something quite quickly. But the ability for the laptop itself, or for the tablet itself, to be able to allow you to make mistakes and backtrack, but at the same time create quite punchy, colourful things that that essentially you could output as transparent PNG files. So they're very usable, really, in lots of different contexts. And after a while, I sort of started. I used to have this massive big whiteboard in my office, so I would sort of do my thinking on the whiteboard. I love a whiteboard because it's got no lines on it. It doesn't tell you to start at the top and work at the bottom. You can sort of start in the middle and go any way you like and rub stuff off and write stuff up here. And so I would end up with, you know, sort of a whiteboard filled with stuff, and that was like my first pass. And then the drawing of the assets would be, let's just take that grey there. That would sort of be my second pass, and that's when I'm starting to sort of, you know, add a little bit of colour. There's a little bit of colour there, and then by the time I'm sort of showing people slides in something like Keynote, I'm able to sort of, it's more of a composition job. You're able to sort of, you know, so here's the, you know, and I suppose, you know, Keynote's a bit like this. Let's see. And that served me very well, and people seem to respond very well to the stuff that I created, and essentially one thing led to another, and there I ended up then creating some things that ended up being published in a government report, would you believe? And you know, I ended up working with my boss to try to capture what was in her head, and that worked very well, and essentially one thing led to another. But you know, now I seem to be, I've sort of come a long way from those early days, and really this stuff. Let me just center that on the page because it's bothering me because it's quite far down here. Let me just grab it. All right, let's just pop that in the middle of the page there. And actually, let's grab that too. I'm just actually there we are. And to be able to use this has really changed my whole outlook on work. Because I'm always starting with, you know, what does that look like? When someone's trying to explain a concept to me, I'm thinking, you know, what metaphor could we use to describe that? And if we use that metaphor, how would that allow us to look at it sideways and maybe see a different angle we couldn't see? Or how would that allow us to define its relationship with maybe this other thing over here? And yeah, and essentially I've been on that journey for a few years, and really this was my attempt to try to unpack this, and I have no idea how this is going to unfold, but I thought I would give it a shot. So if that's of interest to you, then please let me know, and also let me know what you think could work, because I'd be really keen to hear your feedback, and also keen to see how it could help people essentially think in another dimension, or to add another dimension to their all existing domain of work. So if I just draw that, let's see, let's use that sort of ruler tool. So it's almost as if your domain, you know, of work is like that. And let me just grab that and put it down a little bit. And it's almost as if you're sort of coming along and saying, well, you know, that sort of allows me to add this sort of other domain, because, you know, if you've been, you know, working in your domain for some time, you'll have a fairly unique set of insights that have value, and having a visual dimension sort of will allow you to essentially get some of that insight out and let other people benefit from that. At least that's what has happened to me. So anyway, if that's of interest to you, then please get in contact and let me know. Thank you.